Let's start with a bold question. Have you ever noticed how desire often shows up when it's least convenient and disappears when you're supposed to feel it most? That gap between expectation and reality isn't just a modern problem. The Stoics knew long ago that desire is not purely about the body. It's about the mind, the context, and the meaning we attach to experiences. Think about it. Modern studies show that 85% of women don't feel aroused until certain psychological conditions are met. Trust, anticipation, safety, or even mystery. This isn't only about biology, it's about perception. And perception is the very foundation of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed that events themselves are neutral. What matters is the judgment we attach to them. Pleasure, pain, desire, these don't live in the outside world. They live in how we interpret what's happening. Epictetus once said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them." That includes arousal. A situation alone doesn't create desire. The mind does. The imagination does. That's why anticipation, buildup, or even discomfort can spark feelings that direct physical attraction alone cannot. Let's pause on that word, discomfort. The Stoics trained themselves to see discomfort not as a curse but as a teacher. Seneca often exposed himself to cold baths, simple foods, and voluntary hardship. Why? Because he understood that the body follows the mind. By controlling his thoughts around discomfort, he strengthened his ability to control desire. He didn't let impulse rule him. Instead, he trained himself to observe it, question it, and decide whether it deserved power over him. Now, connect this to the modern world. Think about relationships. How many times do people expect desire to just happen, like flipping a switch? When it doesn't, they feel broken. But from a Stoic perspective, that expectation is the real trap. Desire, like any emotion, is unpredictable. It's not supposed to arrive on command. The problem isn't the lack of desire, it's the belief that it should come easily, automatically, and perfectly timed. Here's a reflection challenge. Next time you feel disappointed because a spark didn't appear when you wanted it to, pause and ask, am I expecting nature to follow my timeline? Or can I accept the moment as it is without judgment? Desire is shaped by context, story, and perception. That's why a whispered word, a meaningful pause, or the right atmosphere can awaken what direct action cannot. And this isn't limited to intimacy. The same principle applies to ambition, motivation, even happiness. We don't feel inspired just because we should. We feel it when the conditions align in our mind. The Stoics remind us, the mind is the stage and desire is the actor. If you control the stage, your thoughts, your expectations, you don't have to fear the actor. You can watch it, learn from it, and decide how much of a role it plays in your life. So, if 85% of desire is waiting for the right conditions, maybe the real question is, are we setting the stage for it in our own minds? Or are we demanding the actor perform without rehearsal? Let's get to the heart of Stoicism: control. The Stoics divided life into two categories: what is within our control and what is not. Our thoughts, choices, and actions fall into the first category. External outcomes, other people's behavior, and even our own bodily impulses fall into the second. When it comes to pleasure and desire, this distinction is everything. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Apply this to desire. Can you command your body to feel aroused at will? Not really. Can you force someone else to desire you in a certain moment? Absolutely not. What you can control, however, is how you respond when desire shows up, or when it doesn't." This mindset removes the shame people often feel around arousal. The Stoics wouldn't label a lack of immediate desire as failure. They'd say it's simply an event, neutral and outside your control. What matters is your interpretation. Do you judge yourself harshly for not feeling it? Do you pressure your partner? Or do you step back, observe calmly, and adjust your mindset? Seneca once warned about the danger of becoming enslaved to pleasure. He said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." In modern terms, craving immediate passion or constant stimulation can make us restless. If we hinge our happiness on instant gratification, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Desire then becomes a chain dragging us around. But when we step back and realize, this impulse is outside my control, but my response is mine, we break the chain. Here's a modern parallel. Imagine scrolling through social media. The endless stream of images, videos, and ads is designed to provoke desire, whether for beauty, status, or material goods. It's all impulse-based. Yet, if we pause and view it with a Stoic lens, we see the trick. The algorithm controls nothing but appearances. What matters is whether we hand over our peace of mind to those appearances. That same principle applies in relationships. You can't dictate when desire comes. But you can choose whether unmet desire disturbs your peace, or whether you see it as neutral, temporary, and manageable. Think about this reflection. If I cannot command desire directly, why treat it as the measure of my worth or my relationship's value? The Stoics would remind us that passion, while powerful, is not the highest good. Virtue is, character is, the ability to remain steady and kind regardless of fleeting feelings. That is strength. So, when we talk about 85 of women waiting for something to happen before feeling aroused, we can see it through Stoic eyes. That something isn't failure or weakness, it's simply the reality of human perception. And rather than fight it, the wise choice is to focus on what we can control, building trust, creating space for anticipation, and cultivating patience. In the end, Stoicism doesn't tell us to reject pleasure. It teaches us to place it in its rightful place. Pleasure is a visitor, not a ruler. Desire is a wave, not the ocean. And the more we train our mind to master itself, the less dependent we become on whether those waves rise or fall at any given moment. Here's something fascinating. Modern psychology confirms what the Stoics hinted at centuries ago. Anticipation often stirs stronger feelings than the event itself. Think about a vacation. Sometimes the weeks of planning, imagining the destination, and daydreaming about the experience feel more exciting than the trip itself. The same principle applies to desire. For many women, and really for humans in general, anticipation is what makes desire spark to life. Epictetus taught that the mind is a storyteller. He said that people are not moved by events themselves, but by the stories they tell about them. Anticipation is the story we tell ourselves before the act. It is the space where imagination colors reality, and imagination is often more powerful than immediate sensation. That's why the build-up, the waiting, and even the uncertainty can be far more arousing than the act itself. Modern research backs this up. Studies in psychology show that dopamine, the anticipation chemical, spikes higher before a reward than during the reward itself. In other words, the thrill of expecting pleasure is often more intoxicating than pleasure in the moment. Now, imagine how the Stoics might view this. They would say this is proof that desire lives in perception, not in external things. The body may respond to touch, but the mind creates the meaning. This helps explain why so many women report not feeling aroused until certain conditions are met. The anticipation, whether it's emotional connection, a sense of safety, or a narrative that sparks imagination, is the real trigger. It's less about raw sensation and more about the mind weaving context around that sensation. Let's bring in a Stoic example. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself not to chase after pleasures blindly, but to look at them as they truly are. He stripped away illusions to see the core of things. Yet even he admitted that the way we frame an experience changes how we feel about it. When anticipation builds, we are not responding to the act itself but to the way our mind frames it. The Stoics would encourage us to examine this process carefully. Why does anticipation matter so much? Because it shows us that desire is not a force from the outside world. It's a creation of the inner world. Think about this reflection. What if your strongest feelings of passion, motivation, or excitement come not from what you do, but from how you imagine what you're about to do? That perspective can change how we approach intimacy, goals, and even daily life. If anticipation is this powerful, then creating space for it, rather than rushing to the outcome, becomes a form of wisdom. In relationships, this might look like slowing down, valuing build-up, and focusing on emotional connection rather than demanding instant physical reaction. In life, it might mean enjoying the journey toward a goal instead of anxiously waiting for the finish line. The Stoics would argue that by savoring anticipation, we align more with nature. We don't demand outcomes. We accept that much of the joy comes from the path itself. So, the next time you wonder why desire doesn't strike immediately, remember, the absence of instant arousal is not a failure. It's an invitation to slow down, to create meaning, and to honor anticipation as a natural, powerful force. As the Stoics might say, don't rush the play before the curtain rises. The waiting is part of the performance. Let's pause and ask an honest question. Is desire really about the body, or is it about something deeper? The Stoics would answer without hesitation. The body may respond first, but the mind and soul decide whether that response grows into something meaningful. For many people, physical arousal is fleeting. It can be sparked by a glance, a touch, or even a thought. But what sustains it? What turns a passing sensation into something powerful and lasting? That's where emotional depth comes in. And here's the key. Stoicism teaches us that depth always matters more than impulse. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the difference between surface impressions and deeper truths. He warned himself not to be carried away by appearances, whether it was beauty, pleasure, or fear. See things as they are, he wrote. When we apply this to desire, we see a clear lesson. Physical attraction is surface level. It's real but shallow. Emotional connection, trust, respect, shared values, gives desire roots. Without those roots, arousal is like a spark on dry ground. It flares quickly, but it fades just as fast. This explains why many women, as modern studies show, don't feel aroused until they sense something deeper. Safety, understanding, emotional intimacy. For them, the body waits for the heart and mind to give permission. And in truth, isn't that what all humans crave? A connection that doesn't just excite us physically but nourishes us emotionally. Seneca had a warning here, too. He wrote that pleasure without wisdom can lead to emptiness. Chasing sensation alone leaves us restless, because the moment it's gone, we want more. But when desire is tied to virtue, when attraction is connected to respect, loyalty, and shared meaning, it becomes something richer. It's no longer just about the body. It becomes about the soul. Let's bring this to modern relationships. Think about the difference between two scenarios. In the first, someone tries to spark desire with flashy gestures or instant physical moves. In the second, someone builds trust over time, listens deeply, creates anticipation, and shows consistency. The first may create a spark, but the second builds a flame that lasts. The Stoics would always favor the second path, because it's grounded in virtue, not vanity. Here's a reflection for you. When I seek desire, am I chasing a sensation, or am I building a connection? It's a powerful question. Because if we only chase sensation, we'll always need more stimulation, more novelty, more tricks. But if we focus on emotional depth, desire becomes more natural, more sustainable, and more fulfilling. In Stoic terms, this is the difference between being ruled by impulse and being guided by wisdom. The Stoics didn't reject pleasure. They simply refused to let it dominate them. They taught that the best life is one where passion and virtue align. In relationships, That means desire is strongest when it grows out of trust, respect, and shared purpose. So, physical arousal may start the story, but emotional depth writes the chapters. And when the two align, desire is no longer just a fleeting spark. It becomes a steady flame, one that can warm the soul as much as the body. Let's end with a challenge. Imagine for a moment that every desire, every impulse, every craving in your life was placed before you like dishes at a feast. The Stoics would ask, which of these do you eat because they nourish you, and which do you grab simply because they tempt you? That's the heart of mastering desire. It's not about rejecting pleasure. It's about choosing it wisely. Epictetus often reminded his students that freedom doesn't come from indulging every impulse, but from standing above them. He compared impulses to visitors knocking on your door. You don't have to let every one of them in. Some can be welcomed. Others can be turned away politely. The point is, you decide. And that's the real power. When it comes to arousal, attraction, and relationships, this challenge becomes practical. If 85% of women don't feel desire until something specific happens, the Stoic lesson is this: don't let impatience or frustration drive you. Create the conditions. Build anticipation. Focus on what you can control: your presence, your actions, your character. Desire will arrive when it's ready, not when you demand it. Marcus Aurelius practiced this discipline daily. He woke each morning reminding himself not to be ruled by pleasure or pain, praise or blame. Instead, he chose to act according to reason and virtue. That practice is just as relevant today. In relationships, living above impulse means being patient when desire doesn't come instantly. It means not forcing, not demanding, but cultivating space for it to grow naturally. Here's a challenge you can try this week: the pause experiment. The next time you feel an impulse, whether it's reaching for your phone, grabbing a snack, or expecting immediate intimacy, pause. Ask yourself, is this impulse serving me, or am I serving it? That tiny moment of reflection is Stoicism in action. It's proof that you are more than your urges. Seneca wrote, "No man is free who is a slave to his body." Freedom, then, isn't about avoiding desire but mastering it. When you live above impulse, you gain the ability to enjoy desire without being chained to it. You taste pleasure, but you are not consumed by it. You experience arousal, but you don't measure your worth by its timing. You enjoy anticipation, but you don't cling to outcomes. This is the Stoic way: to let desire enrich your life, not control it. To see pleasure as a gift, not a guarantee. To treat anticipation as part of the beauty, not an obstacle. So, here's the final reflection. What would my life look like if I stopped being ruled by impulse and started ruling myself? The answer might be freedom, fulfillment, and a deeper kind of desire than you ever imagined. The Stoics didn't live without passion. They lived above it. And they challenge us to do the same.